Thank you for waiting, Chair. I think we're all ready.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve. Melody, I assume you can hear me okay. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm good. Go.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody out to the Planning Commission meeting this evening, November 2nd, 2022. My name is Commissioner Hanson. I'm the current chair of the Planning Commission. I'd like to welcome, like I said, everybody as our guest this evening to our meeting. To start the meeting, we're going to start with an invocation. I'll go ahead and offer that, and we'll follow by one of the commissioners leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Bullock can handle that. At this time, I'll go ahead and offer an invocation. Our Father in heaven, as we come before thee in prayer this evening at the beginning of our Planning Commission meeting, we're thankful for the safety that thou has given us to all be here. We're thankful for the public that took time out of their day to come and attend and express their thoughts and concerns about projects that come before the city. We're thankful for this great place that we live. Please watch over this meeting, that we'll all have the ability to share and collaborate with each other in order to build a better city that we live in. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda this evening is to approve the agenda. Commissioners, if you've had a chance to look at that, if there's any questions, let's discuss them now. I did have one comment that I wanted to bring up, with regards to the agenda. The very last item on the agenda, 8A, is consideration to approve a name change of apartment. In the past, history tells me that these are short and sweet and simple. I'm just wondering if we should move that to the front and allow that person, if they're here, to get out of here as opposed to waiting through the meeting, which could be potentially longer. I just thought that was something maybe we ought to look at doing. You guys have a problem with that? No? Well, it's going to come down to, is Logan Johnson here? All right. Sorry, Logan. You'll stay at last. Okay. I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I make a motion we approve the agenda.
This is Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
I've got a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, the agenda is approved for the evening. Second item, I'll look for an approval of the minutes from October 19th, 2022. We've all received those for review. I had no changes. I'll look for a motion or any comment from the commissioners.
I think they're good.
This Shill, I would move that we approve the minutes from October 19, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I second.
I've got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. At this point, number 3, declaration of abstentions or conflicts for many of the commissioners and projects on the agenda this evening. I live within a mile of 5A and 6A, but I have no financial interest in any. Anything, commissioners, worth noted for the record?
No.
Perfect. Okay, we'll move on to the first item, number 4A. This is a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to the City Council for a general plan amendment, request G-22-07 from Open Space to Estate Residential located approximately 2335 East Washington Dam Road. The applicant is Lance Miller. I'll turn the time over to staff for their report.
Sorry, Commissioners, we're just trying to get my screen put back, and so hold on a second. I'll get that up here. The applicant is seeking to amend the general plan land use map in the area right here, that kind of where Country Way and Washington Dam Road is a little set far back toward the river, of course, but that's kind of the rough area out there where this is located. The request area covers 43.77 acres. That's broken up between 3 parcels that you can see there, of 28.04 acres, 12.54 acres, and then 3.19 acres. The current land use designation is open space. The applicant is seeking approval to have the land use designation changed to the estate residential. The estate residential designation carries a density ratio of 0.45 to 2.0 dwelling units per acre. It allows for the residential agricultural 2 acre, 1 acre, half acre, and then the single family residential 30,000 square foot zoning designations. The surrounding general planned use designations are open space to the north and west, open space and estate residential to the east, and estate residential to the south. Staff's reviewed the requested change and is comfortable with the proposal, finding it to be in harmony with surrounding uses and general plan designations. Therefore, staff would like to recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval for G-22-07 to amend the general plan use map from the current open space to the proposed estate residential designation as outlined above and shown in the exhibits that you have, and that would be on to the City Council. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the commissioners have on this proposed general plan amendment.
Thanks, Drew. Commissioners, I'll open the floor for any additional questions or any preliminary questions. The only question I have, Drew, that the 3 parcels that are here, that middle one is a parcel, that little teeny strip.
Yeah, that's the 3.19 acres. So
How does it end up that way?
good question. I quit asking the question after so many years in the business of how some pieces end up the way they are. Sometimes what it is families sometimes own several of them, and they'll just, I need to do this for this. And so they'll go in and do a lot line adjustments, so to speak, and get them. But you never know how pieces end up the way they do. So
Is this one owner that owns all 3?
no, you have different applicants, as you can see. You have the Blakes and then the Martins. And I'm not
One
sure
owns-
which one is. I think the Blakes might own the 4221 and the 403, and the Martins might be on 401. I know the Martins, I think, are on that 401 number there, that 4-2-19
Drew, my question, how do they access this?
Here, let me bring up the city map and I'll kind of show you what's going on here. This has been one of those accesses that's been in place for, I think, even before it came into the city back in the county day. And
This is right before that bridge on.
yes, as you're heading east, that's where you would come to it. So I'm going to dial down in here. So the access, you can see, hopefully this will clear up a little bit better, is right where my arrow is. There's an easement, an access easement right through here. And if you drive down there, you'll see the road. I mean, it's been a dirt road since I've been working here. And then the Martins take this, if you follow my arrow, and then they go up into their home. But you can see they cross a lot of properties from Washington Dam Road to come out here to their home. And so this is all a ingress egress easement that's been in place for many years.
So it's just an easement, right? I mean,
Right now it is.
They don't have the right to subdivide it and still have that easement for everyone else, do they?
Well, there is a proposal that they're all going to get together and get a road put back there. Because if they subdivide, they're going to have to bring a road back.
Because I mean, there's no way they do it.
Right.
As it sits right now, there's no way that a subdivision can go in there, right? Without bringing the road more
Because
than
we
one
wouldn't
road
allow
in there.
that many properties to go off of an ingress egress easement because of fire and all that other stuff. So, and they're aware, and they've all been working together. The Walls and the people, I can't remember, I think it's Levitts that are out here on the street, and then the Walls are behind them, the Martins and the Blakes, and then the folks that live on this first parcel that are on that west right there, they're wanting to break theirs down eventually too. I'll show you This family right here will probably join in. I mean, they're all been working together, but they'll have to all work to get that road put in for subdividing, but that's not quite, you know, we can talk about now, but
Right, but I mean, they could take where they're subdividing, they could come off country way right there into.
well,
on that.
no, because way Country Way's lined out and being on a bend, we've already people have tried to get access off of there. And it would, if anything happens, that would only be an emergency access only, not a full-blown one. Just because of the bend, you know, openings on that road, because it's a major collector, you know, things like that. So, but we'll work all that out when the subdivision time comes. They're just wanting to get it to a point that they can bring this and come in for zone changes. Is that kind of, hopefully will catch up here soon, so.
All right, commissioners, any other questions preliminarily that you might have before we open this up for public hearing? I'll open this up at this time. This is a public hearing. If there's anybody here in the chamber that would like to speak to this particular item, please come forward and state your name for the record. It's important to note as well that this is being saved on and broadcast over YouTube. Keep that into consideration. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or so if you can. And please come to the mic and state your name. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. It does not appear that anybody would like to speak to this item. We did receive one public comment that has... Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm going to reopen the public hearing. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I was expecting someone else to come up first. My name is Georgette Kent, and I live at 2191 East Washington Dam Road, and our property, the north end of our property, borders this. And I just have a couple of questions. First off, is there a citation to the estate residential designation for the zoning ordinance? I couldn't find it in the zoning ordinance online. If somebody can tell me what that designation is in the zoning ordinance?
Well, it's a general plan designation, so it won't be in the zoning ordinance. It would only be for the zones that would be applied for, the residential agricultural 2, 1, and half acre. You could find and look under that. That would have all your permitted uses, et cetera, and stuff like that.
So you're changing the master plan to an ER, but it doesn't, that's not an actual defined zone then? Or
It's a general plan designated area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then my next question is, and I think you've answered that, is that at the time this comes before the planning commission, then they have to come in and say how they want it zoned, whether it's going to be half acre. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here in the chamber like to speak to this item? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, I'll open the floor back up to you for any questions. I was mentioning that we did receive another comment from Dennis that will go on the public record and sent to City Council to review as well as part of this item. Any other questions, commissioners, for staff or comment?
Can you turn your mic on, Latae? Sorry.
Sorry, what is the minimum for estate residential, like as far as acreage? That's not done yet, right? It hasn't.
Right, it ends up in the zoning. Again, these designations are kind of bubbles, you know, is the best way to do it. And then they come back and ask for the zoning within that. You know, so again, that's why I read out, they'll come back with an RA 2-1 or an RA half, or I would imagine I think they plan on keeping a bigger acreage, but we'll see that at the zone change. They'll have to go through that process if this gets approved, so. Yep.
Mr. Commissioner Hanson, Drew, with regards to the comment that came in today with regards to flooding, there's got to be things that are done with all the earth that we've moved down there in that area. What is the requirement with regards to if we approve this or send this for approval to city council and it gets approved? Is there additional things that these landowners have to do than what's there now?
Well, the big thing is if they build in, that's just I brought up the floodplain map for the area. So as you can see it right here, so just the blue area is basically the floodplain. You can build in a floodplain, you just have to follow the mitigation of that. Okay, and which, basically if you build on it, you have to build 12 inches above whatever that stated elevation is. But you cannot build in a floodway. It doesn't matter what you do. You can't mitigate that. That's the hashed area. Now, I will tell you that there are, the city's been working. We've fixed a lot of areas with that riprap. That's the flood erosion zone. That's part of our local floodplain stuff, and that helps kind of mitigate out. And I can't remember if they've done any. John, is there any riprap in this area? Is it planned on coming eventually or not? I know somewhere, yeah, down by the park, we're doing riprap right now and putting in that. So things can change. Now, if I own this piece and I wanted to get out of that floodplain, I can hire an engineering company and they're going to show me how I can do whatever I need to do. But whatever change I made, we have to make sure you don't impact other people down the road. So there's ways to get out of it. But in this particular case, they would just not be allowed to build in it. So you could use it for farming, you can do it for lots of things, you just wouldn't be able to put buildings in it, especially the floodway, not at all. Even fencing, you can't put barbed wire fencing through floodways because it catches stuff. But blue areas can be mitigated out and built in, but again, you got to go through the process and your engineer has to then prove to the floodplain administrator at the city that you meet all the requirements. So they probably won't be building in that part of the development, I would think. It's not. I've helped people go through that process in my years, and sometimes it's just not worth it, but other times it is. But I can't imagine with the way the property lines are that they'd probably leave that as part of their open field area anyway. So
Okay.
hopefully that helped answer instead of made things.
And as it relates to, the public comment and flooding, we don't get to regulate property owners until they come to us and ask for either zoning entitlements or use entitlements. So these are properties that we look at are possibly zoned, but maybe not. But they don't have any permitted or approved city uses on there. They're kind of what we'd call grandfathered or historic, undeveloped uses. And in that status, there's no demand that we make on them about flooding. If they wanted to come and grade and develop, we would have an entire flood control and stormwater manual they'd have to comply with. But as of how it sits today, there's not a lot of flood control or stormwater regulation that we impose on them.
So then it's realistic to think that if there is any future development in this, it would be improved, the flooding, as opposed to we're concerned about it.
Correct. In theory, if there was future development that got approved by this council, it would be subject to our manual on flood control and stormwater, to our ordinances, and facilities would be built and planning would be made to mitigate that, which today is not in place.
Thanks. Anything else, commissioners, on this item? Or I'll look for a motion.
That's Commissioner Bullock. I move to recommend approval of G-2207 to amend the general plan use from the current open space to the proposed estate residence designation as outlined, and move this on to City Council.
Commissioner Anderson, I second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bullock. I have a second by Commissioner Anderson. Individual voting, Commissioner Shield.
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The motion passes. We'll send this to City Council with our recommendation for approval. Item number 5A, this is a final plat amendment. It's also a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to the City Council for an amendment to homesteads at Stuckey Farms, Phase 3, lots 56 and 57, located at 708 East and 686 East Prairie Way. The applicant is Kirk Barker, engineers Travis Sanders, Brandy Walker, and Civil Science. Turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you, Commissioners. The applicant is asking to straighten the southern boundary lines of lots 56 and 57, along with adding approximately 10 feet of depth to the lots. No other changes are being made at this time. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval to amend lots 56 and 57 of the homesteads at Stuckey Farms Phase 3 subdivision onto the City Council based on the following original findings and subject to the following conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thanks, Eldon. Commissioners, I'll open the floor for any comments or questions.
This is the proposed one, correct?
Correct.
Where was the lot line previous? Is it?
That's in essence
Okay.
all it is.
Yeah,
That's what I was wondering.
what I figured. So why do things like this happen? They just get in the field and they find out they need to, the field work discovers it?
Could be, yeah, the owners of the lots could be asking for more depth. The block wall could have been built in the wrong location. There could be a structure back there they want to accommodate. Could be a number of things. Quite often it happens to do with the block wall being built in the wrong location.
It's my understanding, maybe this will help, Doug, below the line there, that space right here is permanently going to remain open. Is that correct? Did you understand it? Carl, is that right? Yeah. There won't be any building there. It's just, there'll be a grass area, and they had some clay issues there. And so I think that's never going to be built on. So moving the lot line. Yeah, you're right. Never say never. I was informed I should probably never say that. But yeah, that's really what it is. Yeah. Eldon, thanks. Commissioners, any other questions or concerns before we open this to the public comment section? I'll open this up for the public hearing. If anybody in the chamber would like to speak to this item, please come forward and state your name for the record. I see no takers. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time, and I'll open the floor back up, Commissioners, for any additional questions you might have. Or I'll entertain a motion.
So my question is, so I know these lots, and you know these lots too real well, Jason.
Kind of.
I just what's the purpose of adding the 10 feet? That's all. I know they've got issues with retaining walls and lot lines and this and that in this particular spot. Are they trying to clean up issues with that? I'm assuming.
I do not have an answer for that, and I haven't seen the applicant here. I know those two lots are relatively flat. I'm going to throw the idea out that the block wall was built in the wrong location, but I don't
That's
have
what
a
I thought it
direct
was,
answer
yeah.
to that. Okay.
Yeah. I think when I see it, that's what I thought. I thought that the wall was already there and the retaining wall also, but at the same time, knowing that area, there's no expected growth in there or no expected building, I was like, oh, okay. But maybe that, I didn't think that's the wrong approach to take, but I think it's better than having them tear it out and put it where it's supposed to be.
If all else fails, lot line adjustment.
Yeah. Now, if there was possible development on the lot below it, I think I'd have some issues, but Any other questions or comments, commissioners? I'll look for a motion on this item.
This is Shield. I'd move that we recommend to approve and amend the lots 56 and 57 of the homesteads at Stuckey Farm Phase 3 subdivision onto the city council based on the 3 findings and 5 conditions.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Shield. I've got a second by Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Commissioner Shield.
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Motion also passes. We'll send that to City Council with our recommendation for approval. We'll move to item number 6A. Also a public hearing for consideration to approve a conditional use permit for a commercial use facility, C-22-13, located at approximately the southwest corner of Hayfield Drive and Washington Fields Road. The applicant, Hoops Construction, Dan and Leanne Hoops. I'll turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you. This probably already looks a little familiar to you. They kind of use that in your training of where they've come with that. So we'll just go through our CUP process here. The applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit, develop a commercial complex at this particular location. It's on the northwest corner of Hayfield Drive and Washington Fields Road. The applicant is wishing to develop approximately 2.43 acres into a commercial complex consisting of approximately 9 shops or businesses at this particular location. The building heights appear to be well within the allowable 45-foot maximum for commercial zone properties. The CUP is being sought due to the requirements found in the commercial zoning regulations stating that any commercial use development that is over 5,000 square feet in size must obtain a conditional use permit from the Planning Commission. Staff's reviewed the proposed project and finds that it meets the intent of the commercial use regulations as found in the zoning ordinance. The proposed project is also very well designed with great curb appeal. The provided parking design and quantity meets the requirements found within the zoning regulations. This project will be an asset to the area and to the city. And staff would like to, with that, recommend that the Planning Commission approve. Again, this is yours to approve, not to recommend. C-22-13, allowing for this particular commercial development to be located at this northwest corner of Hayfield Drive, Washington Fields Road, as you see in your exhibits. Now, I will just kind of scroll through before you go into your public hearing to show the entire project. This is basically the beginning site plan view from above. Next one's giving us, of course, the required landscape design on this and those buffered areas. Again, here's that area we talked about with those top patios, et cetera. I really like what they've done with this particular project. And others will see this and hopefully pass this on too. We'd like to see more of this particular look. Here's a kind of a quad look at all the different elevations from the street views there. Just giving you an idea of how that all lays out, again, with those upper patios and 2 stories. And, you know, it's not just a solid 2-story. That's what I love about this, is that mix of breakup in the roof line. In your next elevation, just a little bit more of a perspective from up in the air a bit, just to give you that look. If you happen to be flying around with your jetpack and saw this from there, this is what it would kind of look like. So I like these perspectives as well. It kind of gives you that. Again, these are just the layouts of the different tenant spaces. And again, more elevations, looking at the project from this facial perspective. So seen all the elevations. We'll just head down, I think, to the final one is kind of your palette of your finishes and the exterior products that'll be used on the junction here on this particular corner. So with that, I'll be more than glad to answer any questions the commissioners have on this proposed CUP called the junction.
All right, commissioners, I'll open the floor for any questions on this item.
Have they submitted their traffic study yet, or is that, what's the time frame for that to be submitted?
Well, we kind of have them do a tentative one, just, we make sure that an engineer looks at it and says, yeah, this was probably going to fit within. I mean, if he sees any red flags, then we wait before we get to this point, but it's not the one that they're required to. If you read the conditions, they'll just have to also apply, with that and meet the public works on the, for the street impacts and all that. They'll have to bring that in.
I don't know how fast you are, but this picture right here, could you pull this one up? Or one of these that shows the aerial from this view?
Yeah, I just don't want to get anybody sick on how quick we.
My question is, on that block of businesses right there on the, we'll call it the southernmost,
Mhm.
I'm trying to indicate, because I've seen it in two different locations, and I think it's pretty important, which one of those three buildings is the one that actually has the drive-through? Is it this one?
I would imagine it's this pop out right here. This, see where my arrow is?
Yeah, I see it here, but I thought on other ones.
I know well, for stacking, depends on what it is. It would be best that it be this one.
That's exactly what my question is.
But
I'm
if
not trying
it's-
to redesign. I'm just wondering
Right.
which is which.
But if stacking, sometimes depends on what the use is, et cetera.
Okay.
Because you can see on this one up here, they've got the pop out, more or less, for that particular building, but you're right. And we'll have the applicant address that.
Yeah.
I think, because I'm not sure if it's even been thought out that far, but that would probably be the better. But again, it depends on the design of this and how they're using the 2 stories and things like that. So we'll have them.
Sorry, was that the 2-story building?
These are both 2-story. The bigger ones, the ones with
Okay.
the 3 are both, they're pretty much identical.
Oh, they're
in
identical.
layout.
Yeah, I see that now.
I just wanted to ask because, like you said, it makes a whole lot of sense to have it the southernmost one.
Yes.
As opposed
For the
to
best stacking.
It looks like it's both ways in the plan, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask. Thank you.
It kind of looks like it's just a copy and paste then, and they mirrored it.
Well, it was
It
flip.
looks like they mirrored it. It looks like they just mirrored
with
it,
the
so it stayed there.
stairs. Yeah, as you can see with the stairs on the ends, and just kind of kept that way. So we'll ask on that.
What's the ratio of parking that they're planning? Do you know?
Well, it's based on, I just took roughly the square footages that they had, presented. I based it without even taking into account storage areas because they're less than. But they meet, and they actually had a handful of extra based on the 1 per 250 square foot of retail. That's what our retail is so it's 4 per 1,000. And they have,
Restaurant will be a little bit more.
yeah, if they have a restaurant, it would be based on seating, but we don't count the kitchen area. So I don't get too worried about that because sometimes they, and again, if it fits without me having to go into saying, okay, now I'm hoping they have at least 2,000 square foot in this thing of storage, because then it's only 1 per 1,000. Yeah, but I didn't even have to get to that. If they fit it with me just saying the whole thing at full retail 4 per 1,000, then I pretty much don't get too my anxiety goes down to nothing.
This is Commissioner Anderson. So do we have the layout that was, I guess, endorsed by the city's design consultant that we saw earlier today? Because that's different. The buildings are in a different location than what they had shown. They were further to the front.
Yeah, but again, he was just showing what they threw back, and this is what they both came together on. So
Okay. I'm just wondering, I mean, we saw it and he was like pushing, this is what they wanted. I mean, do we want to talk about that or no?
well, is Will still on the phone?
I am.
You have a commissioner just beating you up, so tell him what you want to tell him. No, I'm just, he wants to know from you, are you endorsing, because you have your report in there, so Commissioner Anderson just wanted to ask you, and you can talk to him, so go ahead,
Yeah,
Commissioner
so,
Anderson.
so
you
Will, I guess to clarify, my question is just, earlier you had showed us a design and talked to us about bringing the buildings to the front and put the parking in the back and so forth, and how that was your endorsed design, but then that's different from this. So I guess my question is, what is the endorsed design that your firm and staff is recommending here? That's all.
This is the endorsed design, and I will tell you that what I had presented before was the original submission and then our initial reaction to that on what would be better. The conversation that happened after that, the developer made some good points about why some of the buildings and the parking was placed where it is. The end result was a collaboration and a compromise on their part to address some of the more important issues that we brought up. They brought the building to the corner. They increased it to a 2-story building. They buffered and changed the parking distribution, the dumpster location and visibility and other things, which is in a report that I submitted. So this is the endorsed design for various reasons.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this is Commissioner Hanson. You had also mentioned that where were you at? Where are you at again? Ohio?
I'm in
Georgia.
Columbus, Georgia.
Go Dogs, right? So when you came out here, I live close to this project. I actually really like it. I'm looking forward to using it. And I'm repeatedly told I'm the dumbest guy in the room, which I'll happily own. But this is the first commercial in proximity to the high school there. And I could see this being used every day relentlessly by the high school kids. How much planning went into this with regards to knowing that? I can't imagine I'm the first one bringing that up to you.
That's probably a better question for the developer in terms of our conversation. Really, we restricted our conversation to the fact that we were looking for connectivity to the neighborhood.
Okay.
So that proximity and the ability to walk to this is certainly in play, but we didn't discuss the number or the actual pathway to the high school.
Okay. Dan and Leanne, at some point, if one of you come up, would you mind talking about that? Not necessarily now, but if you want, Dan, come on up. Yeah. That's just an overarching 10,000 foot level concern that I have, being the first of its kind to show up in this area. Can you state your name for the record, Dan?
It's Dan Hoops.
Thanks. What do you think? I mean, how much of this went into that? I mean, you are going to be
Thinking
the
about
first
the high
commercial
school
piece, yeah, with regards
for
to high
sure,
school.
for
Yeah.
sure. That's a lot of it. So,
I mean, I would think
I mean,
any kid that
anything
goes
that's
to
gonna go
lunch.
in there. Yeah, we're planning that it'll be the closest thing, so they don't have to drive everywhere else. You see them driving all through town to get anywhere else.
So with that being said, I have no idea how many cars leave the high school at lunch, but let's say there's 500 cars that show up on this within an hour. Is that possible? Is this something that
I hope so.
that you're aware of, that the city's aware of? Exactly.
Yeah.
I need to avoid it at that time frame. That's what.
Well, you know what? It's just like anywhere you have that. If you have 500 cars come, probably it isn't going to be good.
Yeah.
The rest are going to have to go to town. You know, we do have the land across the street. We'll be back on, and then we'll.
Exactly. So here's the reason really why I welcome the project. I look forward to seeing it. I'm happy about this one and the one across the street. At any time during lunch, if this project is used to where I think it's probably going to be used by the high school, it's going to almost eliminate or make me not want to ever use Hayfield, which when Hayfield opened, it was a big connector over there. And so I'm not trying to redesign or anything. I'm just saying, hey, I'm just making sure everyone's thinking right here that could be a big problem around a certain time frame where it cuts off Hayfield. There'll be cars everywhere and high school kids and everything going on, which is great for you, but it's not great for all the people that now use Hayfield to get through. not your problem, but I just want to make sure that this can handle something like that the best that we possibly can at all hours of the day, including lunchtime for kids. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'd say down on, I don't know what street that is, right below that subdivision, when they're coming out on that street now. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that come out there
Yeah.
the same way, and it seems to flow, but I don't know if there's 500 cars like they would be coming this way.
It's random guess.
Some
I
of them
don't
are
know.
gonna have to walk, I
Yeah.
guess, I don't know.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay?
All those high school kids are now on those electric bikes and scooters.
That's a whole nother set of questions now that I have.
I have a question. I see on the plan that there's these 2 little dumpsters. Is that sufficient to service all 7 buildings?
I would say yes, but when you look at, there's actually 2 sets of dumpsters there, right? So there'll probably be 2 of those ones that the trucks can lift up as I zoom down in there. If they have a problem, guess what? They'll just have to contract with the company to come twice a week instead of once a week. I mean, because they have to take care of their garbage, but
Yeah.
these are generally contracted by, they're not like the rest of us. I mean, some of them are, they'll just come routinely at a 1 week and that's what you pay for. Others have their garbage dumped sometimes twice a week. It all depends on what they're going to have to do because they'll have to take care of it. If they have to have them come twice a week, then they'll just redo their contract, come twice a week. So
Okay. I know you mentioned that they were over on the parking accommodations, but I'm seeing 1 handicap for 3 buildings, 1 handicap parking for the small building and 2 for the other 3. Is that in compliance with ADA parking requirements? Because I'm used to seeing a ton of parking.
right, and I'm not too, they'll have to meet with the ADA. Probably this other one, they'll probably have 2 in front of here, 2 here, and 2. But it's basically, they'll have to follow whatever the standard is. And I can't remember it off. I used to have that always memorized, but right now I'm drawing a blank. But I know it's 1 per, I think 25 generally is what it is. I'm almost positive it is. So, 2 at 50, 3 at 75, 4 at 100. So they'll have to meet that. They won't be able to say, "Oh, my CUP said I only had to put." No, you can't get away with that. So
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to open this to the public hearing section. Is there anybody here in the chamber that would like to speak to this particular item? All right, we got one. Please state your name for the record.
Rusty Hughes, I'm the Economic Development Director for Washington City. And I just wanted to note that, we've kind of discussed this commercial and this being kind of the only commercial in that area right now. Concerned about the high school kids going to that area and that being really crowded. That may be the case for a little while, but we do have commercial plan just north of this and it's underway. So you'll be seeing that come through for a zone change soon. And this is actually the result of having residential development far outpace our commercial development. It's the reason why we have so much traffic on River Road and going towards those grocery stores at Lynn's and Smith's. So I think this is a move in the right direction to start getting some investment in the area. A lot of these produce sales tax. They bring goods and services closer to where people live. I know our police force are excited to have a place where there's a public restroom because sometimes when you're in the fields, that's something you don't think about and that some staff have to worry about. So just want to say there is more development coming. That intersection at George Washington Boulevard and Washington Fields Road, those are at various stages of the process. So we're really excited to see that come. Thank you.
Thanks, Russ. Anybody else? I'll close the public hearing at this time. I'll turn it back over to you, commissioners, for any comments or questions that you have. I guess I have a street question, John. Hayfield, and exactly what Rusty said. Hayfield is going to become a lot busier. I would think, well, maybe they won't use it. I don't know. With regards to Hayfield getting built out, is there some kind of a timeline that we know? I know the development's going in, some of the developments we've approved there. What does Hayfield look like in 2 years?
Yeah, I believe our last planning commission, we had Crimson Hills or Crimson Park, I don't remember. They'll be building the other half of Hayfield through there with their subdivision, and that's part of phase 1 of there. So we'll have Hayfield from Treasure Valley back around that curve, all completed here as they do that first phase of that subdivision.
So within a year, that'll probably be done, give or take?
Probably.
Okay.
And then just, our master transportation plan, we have looked at that intersection of Fields Road and Hayfield, and we do have a signal within that master transportation plan. Just
Really?
because of 4200 coming around Hayfield and Fields Road. So 4200 Hayfield's a major collector, and then we have the arterial there with Fields Road. So as traffic increases and stuff, that is something that we'll be looking at in the future years.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Is there anything kicking around on that triangle piece? Just to the south of it?
That's theirs.
That's,
They're going to develop it next.
What's that?
Hoops owns it, they'll develop it next. Jason asked about the drive-through on that one building that looks like it's going to be right there at the first. Is that where that, Mr. Hoops, is that where that drive-through is going to be located on that building, or is it going to be on the other building for stacking reasons?
Because on this one, what I was saying is it shows on a different one than the initial. It shows here instead of here.
Because I think it was on the south end, like you said.
Here.
Because you had that cars coming clear around. Isn't that where the arrow is? I had one right here. And might know better names. Then there's one on the other end.
So there's only one drive-through, or there's two drive-throughs there?
I think originally we had the possibility of having one on each end. I thought, is that correct, Dan? Oh, there's one on each line. Okay.
So,
I know we were looking at do more than one.
so it will be moved down to the other end to accommodate
this end over here.
where Drew's got that. Okay, so that's,
Yeah.
it's just a flip, correct?
Yeah. As I remember, yeah.
All right, yeah, that's what, I mean, Jason brought it up. I just
I
wanted
think
to
it
make sure
needs
we.
to be. Like, yeah, I think we need to make sure that that's the case because it just gives us. that
Well, it
much
has to
more
have
room.
the stacking.
Right.
And so I know that's what we were talking about. So wherever the stacking is where it would be.
Yeah. Like I said, it shows both in our plan that we've seen in different slides. And so I want to make sure. We have it here. Stacking's, there is no stacking here. It's just from here to here. And it's
Right.
conceivable this could stack into here easily with probably 4 cars and we'd be in trouble.
Right.
So if we put it here, we've got all this extra room. And that's why I'm saying is it's got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be here. It can't be here at all. Even though we've seen some slides that show it there, I would prefer that it wasn't there because of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know.
Seems like does the next slide better show what it might actually look like in comparison to the other building? If you go one slide down in our packet.
Perfect. Yeah, that's
Here it's showing it here.
that's preferable. In my
Okay.
opinion, that's necessary.
So that's the way it will be.
Yeah, so that's where he's got those awnings out. That's where it would be. So that's what it is.
Okay.
That's good for me to know.
Oh, and by the way, we grew some more handicap parking for you, Commissioner Dupo, on this slide right here. So that's what I'm saying. So we would just make sure that way. You can see they've got 6 of them in here, so
2 more.
My only comment is I've already shared it. I like the project. I welcome it. I'm just 5 years out looking back. I'm concerned about the traffic around that time in that area. There's nothing that this is going to do about it. I'm not suggesting that something should be changed. I just think that as commercial comes there, it's conceivable that that road will continue. So it does help. There's gonna be a light there. I didn't know that, so that's new. That's just a concern I have that 5 years from now, looking back, we might have wondered. Still like the project.
John, I have a question for you. It's Commissioner Anderson. So you're saying there's gonna be a light at the end of Hayfield then?
Yeah.
And, okay, so if there's a light there and we've got the entrance here, is it far enough away from the light to allow for people to stop and so forth at the light without blocking off that entrance?
Yeah, and we feel that it's in a sufficient location for that. We may tweak it just a little bit when we get the actual construction plans and stuff. But
What I'd hate to have happen is what we have at the Maverick over here on Mall Drive, where people stop at the stoplight and it backs up for, long ways, and nobody can get into the Maverick until the light goes, because it's just they're overlapping each other.
That would be.
Yeah, we work with that, and we've got where we already have utility stubs into that property and stuff, and so it was already that entrance is already kind of designated, right, where those.
It looks pretty close to the stoplight.
Yeah.
I don't know how many
No,
cars that
they're
would be.
they're back about where that's at.
See, that would be exactly what I'm saying is in the future, when the other commercial developments come in and these kids come down Hayfield and want to turn left, they'll stack right from that light, right past that. And when the south property is developed, the pizza triangle, if the entrance is lined up with this entrance as well, then you've got that. So that's it's a legitimate concern, I think.
I guess with that, how many lanes is Hayfield? Are there turning lanes? Is there just a center median or
It should be it'd be 3 lanes.
3 lanes per side?
No.
3 lanes total?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So we're basically a lane and a lane and then a center
maybe
median.
a
And
turn lane.
that's what I'm worried about is I think it's too small for that kind of traffic, especially with a traffic light and an entrance right there, and you've only got the center lane that both lanes are gonna share. And that's my only concern here, is that I don't know if Hayfield is big enough, or if it maybe needs another lane, or maybe that entrance needs to slide down a little bit. That's my only concern. Other than that, I love the project. I think the architecture looks great. I think the thought process with the stacking and stuff is good, but I'm worried about the size of Hayfield only having the center median and the proximity of that entrance to the stop sign. I think it's too close.
Yeah, definitely something that we wanted to look at when we get the civil plans in, can actually have something that we can scale in there real good and determine it. So definitely noted.
The kids really have 2 ways to get to this commercial. One is coming down 20 East, I think it is, 20 something. I don't know, whatever it's by. It goes right into the high school. They may end up if this is an issue, then they'll stop using it and they'll go around. But it's so nice that that's there now, where we as residents and everybody are all using it. As this gets developed, it will just become more wanting to use it.
Yeah, another alternative that we're hoping to have in place will be Weatherby coming through Finley Farms down there and stuff. That'll come out and tie to the Fields Road as well.
The one that's bringing all the dirt onto Fields Road right now.
Yeah, that's, it well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioners, I brought this up just to help you as well. This is this whole area right here. So the one you're looking at tonight's right here where my arrow is. This whole thing is designated, not zoned yet, but is designated for commercial. So you'll have other opportunities again for stuff to be coming this direction and coming into these developments as well. So I can tell you, if that gets that popular and that crazy, I guarantee you the people who have, the hoops then will be jumping on getting this piece done right away. And then they can work with who's ever coming down here, and you'll end up, again, success drives development. So I'm just thinking it'll help thin all that product out. And again, as Rusty told you earlier, as we move even north, all that, up here where the Fields Road, these colors are now just making me nauseous, but you got George Washington Boulevard up here and all, this piece, people are moving on that. This piece has design under review. You got lots of things that are going to come. They're going to alleviate a lot of that. It won't be the only place. But if if it is for a very short amount of time. And I remember my high school days, nobody went single cars. We all loaded into my buddy's car, they loaded into mine. We had 8 or 9 kids stuffed in a car that should only seat 4. You know, that kind of helps park. I mean, and I see it today. I'll go to Taco Bell for lunch every now and then. Those kids from Pine View come up, there's 6 of them come piling out of the cars all the time. So nobody rides on them by themselves anymore, or else they're riding their scooters. And
It's kind of interesting being on the commission long enough where we were begging for Hayfield to come through, and the hoops came in and were accommodated with allowing that to be done. And now we're here going, Hayfield's not big enough. Like it will be a short window of time. I'm just hoping that, you know, and this has nothing to do with this project, but in the future that could be really get interesting. My other question, does the entrance to this project, is it mandatory, if you will, that the city has the entrance to the triangle piece across the street when they develop that? Will those have to line up? Is that something that is mandatory? Is that something is
If
just
it were
good
to
practice?
develop individually, that's what we would like to see, is those straight across from each other. If it were to develop in conjunction with that other commercial ground, we could look at where Treasure Valley, that intersection is, and build an access road through there into all those properties.
down here.
Okay.
So it just depends on how that pans out into the future.
Okay.
They'll all come down Hayfield.
Is Hayfield, is this,
Nothing off of Washington Fields into these.
Not for that triangle property or this property that we're discussing.
will the speed limit remain the same on Hayfield? It's 25, I think, right now. Is that
Yeah.
because it's small now, or is it always going to be 25?
It'll probably stay.
You gotta slow down.
It's really hard. I have to hit cruise control to slow me down every time. Every time.
Well, you know, you were just talking about those high schoolers. That
Yeah, that's me. That is me. Thanks, John. Commissioners, any other questions, or I'll look for a motion on this item or comments?
What's that? It's pretty tight.
What do we have? More questions or concerns to discuss?
Well, it's tight. It's tight on the road. It all depends on the tenant mix that you end up with there. If they're only thinking of a couple of restaurants, that's gonna limit some of the traffic, because they're the ones that are gonna bring a lot of traffic. So if it's office space or a dry cleaner or whatever, it's gonna be, you know, a little less. Restaurants are gonna drive your traffic, so. How big is that triangle piece? So-
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I'll just make a comment.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I mean, I feel like the traffic will, and maybe this isn't a solution, but obviously traffic will determine how much use. Like if there's traffic, people are going to avoid it. If it becomes that complicated, just a thought. I mean, I think it's hard to know. I mean, it does seem like at times it will be congested, but will then that deter others from actually going? They'll find another route. They'll find somewhere that's less congested.
Could they do like, almost like a deceleration lane and add another lane in there? No, I know it. They're gonna have to take it off their property. And then that takes out of their parking. So,
I mean, I drew it up here, and I mean, you got traffic from 3 different directions, all trying to use that center median. People coming, trying to go into the triangle property, people trying to go into this property, going the other direction, plus people trying to make a, you know, left-hand turn at the stoplight. I don't see how you have enough room to use the one same thing.
unless
Unless the entrance drops down.
Yeah, if they go down to the Treasure Road
Yes.
and drop into there
If
for
the
the
entrance
triangle.
comes from the south end, I think it could work, but
Yeah.
where it sits, I think you're gonna have three different directions of traffic trying to use that same center median. And again, that's my only concern with the whole project. I think where that entrance is, I think it's gonna be a bad spot. I think either Hayfield needs to get another road, or another lane, but even then, I don't know if that would solve it. I think dropping that entrance south is what would solve the problem. And that would require rethinking the parking lot. I know that, but
Was it, I don't know if this question's for you, Drew or Dan. Sorry to keep having you walk, Dan, but you sat in the back, my friend. Actually, we're not friends. I've never met you before. I'm sorry. I have to say that because everybody thinks I'm in the pocket of developers. I've never met you. Was it discussed at all that there might be a possibility of a second entrance off of Treasure Valley, or an entrance off of Treasure Valley in addition to Hayfield?
I remember at one time, I don't know, Drew was in that meeting, but it seemed like we talked about it, but I can't remember all the reasons that we didn't. We ended up with it over here. And I thought that that's what we're gonna do, is line up the two, because that's where we put some of the utilities, because we worked out a deal with the city, put utilities, so it was all kind of figured out back then, but I can't remember everything about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just to answer, coming out of the south, there's just probably no way. It'd only have to be an exit only. You cannot have an entrance that close to that intersection.
And
It
Treasure
would have to be
Valley.
an exit only, and that doesn't help your situation. You're worried about them getting in, not getting out, per se, but that.
yeah, I'm just worried about 3 different directions of traffic using that center lane. That's all.
Yeah, you're worried about the triangle using that same
So,
entrance.
so when you develop the triangle, you'll have people trying to come, from both directions. Well, if they're coming from the
they
north
would
going
come this-
southbound, they're gonna have to get in the middle lane and get into the triangle. You'll have people going northbound, getting into the middle lane, trying to get into this piece. Plus, you'll have people getting into the middle lane, trying to turn left at the stoplight. And it's just, you got 3 overlapping groups of people. There's just not enough room for everybody to fit in the center lane.
I mean,
That's all I'm worried about.
yeah, I can see that, and it's going to be probably more an hour a day, and that doesn't help the problem, but I mean, it's called,
It's very
called 5
similar.
o'clock traffic. But it's at
It's
noon.
very similar to the Lens, or not Lens, the Maverick over on Mall Drive. Imagine that the entrance to Smith's was right across from Maverick, and everybody's trying to get into Smith's and trying to get into Maverick and trying to turn on the light.
Yeah.
There'd be no way. Now, granted, you're not going to build a Smith's on this corner triangle piece, but the traffic pattern's still the same
But on
problem.
that triangle piece, I mean, there's no way we can come in off of Washington Fields, right?
No, I know that. All I'm suggesting is that we need to, as much as possible, even if it's 10 feet, I mean, that'll allow for one more car. We need to push that entrance south if possible. That's all.
I just took a quick measurement about where our utilities are at, from center of Fields Road back to about where the center of the proposed access is, where our utilities are. It's about 330 feet. So we're down about where our utilities are. This would actually shift about 330 feet. So that's where the utilities are. That's where we would line up the drive.
Yeah, that's all I would recommend is as far south as we can push that entrance. That's what should be done.
But also, I just
Even if
need-
it's 10
yeah.
feet, that lets one more car get in there. I mean, that helps. So
I just want to point out that, this third lane, that's how it's designed, is actually to be left-hand turn. So I don't want people to think that we're, because that's why you have that third lane, is so you can make left-hand turns in it as well, just as
no,
part
I
of
know
that
we just have 3
discussion, right?
different groups of people all making the same left-hand turns in the same lane. That's all. Anyway, if we can push it back, whatever we can push it back, I think that's going to help.
I kind of have an outer body experience when we have people come in public comment and talk about traffic all the time. We're up here talking about traffic. And I'm not opposed to the project. I just want to make sure I'm not the only guy in the universe thinking about this being an issue at some point in the future, especially when it's only commercial that's there. And that was my whole point about it. And now you guys are bringing up stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, that's true too. Because if you've got cars, they're going to be coming right at each other. One's going to turn left, one's the other way. I don't know.
Well,
But I can
that's how they
clearly
work.
Yeah, I know. I clearly know I'm going to avoid this for at least an hour.
Room both directions. If you're in a confined space, we got 3 different directions. That's the problem. But if
It'll work.
If they push
It'll
it-
work.
They can
It's
push it 20,
it'll work its way out.
And then push the triangle down further again too. Yeah.
That's all.
So don't have them cross from each other.
The further south it goes, the better it'll be. That's all I'm saying.
Well, how far is it from the intersection on the other side?
You mean the south?
Right
Treasure
there,
Valley?
right there where Drew's saying.
Yeah, but again,
But then
just
you're
like, just
blocking
like
that
Drew said,
intersection.
you don't use that center lane to come off of Treasure Valley. That's a turning lane. So
Where's Will and Bill?
I'm still here.
Is any of this making sense to you? You're not here seeing all these things we're drawing and everything on the screen. Are you following us?
I'm following you. Is there any way I can share my screen?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not, we're being told here.
Okay. I mean, a couple of comments is that in the junction development, all three buildings have an identified drive-through location, and they've all been considered with stacking in mind. I've got a diagram that shows 17 cars being able to stack within the site without interrupting the exit of the cars that are at the other drive-throughs.
We're talking about the street. We understand the stacking.
On Hayfield.
On the street side, where the
we're talking about the street light and the shared turn lane.
generally speaking, it looks like from the light back to where the current entrance is located, there are possibility of 8 to 10 cars being able to stack without interrupting that entrance. And if that entrance is pushed further toward Treasure Valley, it's going to be difficult to line up the triangular pieces entrance because it's already kind of at the corner of that property as it is, unless that property becomes part of a bigger piece below it on the plan.
This is Commissioner Hanson. I'm not concerned about stacking within the development itself. I think you guys actually did the best job I've seen in my 4 or 5 years here as far as stacking with cars in a development. What our concern is Hayfield Drive. That's all. About the cars stacking before they ever get into your project or into the project. Does that make sense? Are we being clear? Or are we misunderstanding each other?
No, that makes sense. I think when you have this much development on this site, you're going to have cars, and cars typically tend to move to another location. As Rusty said, there will be more development not too far away. My assumption is unless this is just the restaurant or the place that the kids want to go or anybody else wants to go, that at the point where you see that there is a better way to get around and another place to go, it looks to me like you're going to have, if people turn off of Washington Fields Road and take a right, you have, again, 8 to 10 cars before they have to turn in, and then they could absorb over 50 cars on the site that are not parked, that are just in drive-through. So the passage through, the turn lane going either to the left to the triangular piece or immediately to the right, I think you probably have a pretty good solution here where the driveway is. I know y'all are not concerned about the internal circulation, but the internal circulation, if we move the entrance around too much, is going to get more complicated. And there's going to be some conflicts within that that becomes a bigger traffic issue. Hayfield Drive as it is going to have traffic if there's commercial development on it.
Totally understand. Don't disagree at all. I guess I was one that brought this up. I live in the area. I again will say I like this project a lot. I don't have any problem with it. This is the first commercial piece adjacent to a high school on one of 2 major exits from that high school. There is another entrance that goes through a neighborhood. I'm sorry, there's another exit from that high school that goes through a neighborhood to get out to George Washington. So any future development only leads to my anxiety personally about using Hayfield even more. So when they go down Hayfield and turn left onto Washington Fields Road, that's more cars that are getting to that development. So I just wanted to, that's all I was bringing this up. And I guess it's for the better because the commissioners have a lot of questions as well. I can't be the only person that thought this, and I hope I'm not, but this is the first development piece. And I just wanted to make sure we've exhausted everything we can about trying to make sure that we're doing everything we can as a city that this doesn't become a major traffic issue, at least for an hour a day. And that might not seem like big, but everybody south of this uses Hayfield to do anything toward the high school. And I live south of this, so all the development that's there will continue to use Hayfield. And it's just, I'm just making the comment initially, but it sounds like some of the other commissioners had concerns as well. I've stated before, I don't have concerns with this project. The city staff, the developers that come in and work with them do a great job in handling our roads and doing things far above what I think of. So I'm not concerned. I know that we'll handle this right. I just looked at it as, hey, this is the first one, so I hope we're doing everything that we can, because it has the potential to be a problem, no question.
I think Bill has a good point, though, because the stacking within the project will absorb a lot of the concerns that we have with people turning into the project. I mean, he mentioned 50 cars, there's 3 drive-throughs in there, so anyone who is visiting the project would be in the project and not sitting out on the road.
Getting in and out, I guess. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, so as long as we don't get like a Chick-fil-A or Swig that has long lines that go around the entire.
I mean, I just measured it here, scaled it. You got enough for 6 cars turning left at the stoplight. Okay.
You mean onto Washington Fields Road?
Onto Washington Fields Road, turning left onto there. That doesn't interrupt the left-hand turn into the project here. But as soon as you get the triangle piece developed, depending on how much traffic is in there, that could take half of it. So you might only end up with three cars being able to turn and 3 cars going the other way, which they're never going to share it perfectly. So you're going to have a log jam there. That's all. So again, even if you move it 20 feet to the south, you add an extra car. I mean, that makes a huge difference in something that small.
But that also can be changed when the stoplight goes in to have 2 turn lanes going left, because it's going onto Washington Fields Road,
Well,
where
only-
where they turn left, so they can. So you'll
Only
be on 2.
if they take land away from the triangle piece and make Hayfield wider.
No, even with the turn lane, like at the bottom of Fort Master, when you come down, 2 lanes turn.
Well, yeah, you
And they
could,
would be
but
doing the
again,
same thing
again,
there.
how far are you going to take it?
Well,
You can't take it so far that you can't get into the triangle lane.
You just doubled your turning ability to turn left. Turning right's not going to be an issue.
Right.
Going straight is going to be an issue. I mean, you're worried about turning left.
So that'd be 12,
stacking
12
coming up.
cars.
So, I mean, if it's that big of a
No,
problem,
I
the city
understand. That's
can
what
put in a
that's what they did
stoplight
to try
where,
and fix
where
Maverick
2
over
people
there.
turn left onto Washington Fields Road. If it's that, I don't think it's going to be that way. It's a 3-lane road. It's not the Maverick. It's not.
No,
it
but
doesn't have
that's
that
what they
major
did to try and
thoroughfare
fix
going through it.
Maverick. They did that exact same thing to try and fix Maverick, which the idea makes sense, except everybody pulling in to try and turn into Maverick keeps people from getting into that second lane, so no one ever gets in that second lane because people are blocking it trying to get into Maverick. That's what I'm trying to say.
Does that mean it's gonna be a roundabout?
No.
Finally. The sun is out.
I'm trying to go 5 years and just, I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope this is not even an issue at all, but at least we're beating it up.
I don't see it.
Well, I
being
think
that
we're
much of an
beating it up
issue.
too much. I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think that, I think we all like this and we're in favor of it. I think we're kind of bringing the cart before the horse maybe a little bit on the triangle piece, because the triangle piece could actually end up being with more of the southern property, and that'll alleviate a lot of problems. So.
Again, I'm not saying we rejected it. I mean, John already gave the answer to my concern was we can push that entrance, south a little bit because of utilities. I just say we push it as far south as we can with utilities, and that will help. That's all I'm saying.
But
if we push it too far south, they're not going to be able to come in off of.
Well, you obviously
on the
can't
next
push
piece.
it to where you can't get in, but you can go 20 more feet and add enough room for 1 more car in that turn lane.
Yeah, well, I mean,
What are our options, Drew? I mean, we're not, they always, in our trainings, you've told us not to redesign the project from the stand, whatever. I don't think we're trying to do that, but
Well, there's lots of factors here. If I push that, but I got to keep my internal parking like it is, and this is what they said, I don't want to come in and be blocked by that tree and those parking stalls there. That, for what you gain 1 car out here, now you've caused maybe 3 cars stuck out on the street because people are coming in and having to go right or left instead of just being able to travel through, right? So every property, or a lot of them, have issues. You just have to deal with those issues as they come. You know, as I sit here and listen to everybody's discussion, I think this is probably actually the best location for that in and out when all things said and done. You know, and we could sit, because it's just like, you know, when Commissioner Bullock says, when I push it this way, I feel uncomfortable. Commissioner Anderson wants to go, and I get why. I mean, they're both valid points, but no matter what you do, you're going to take a car that could stack this on this end off of this. And so, you know, you're just sitting there juggling, you know, bowling pins, wondering which one's going to end. So I think all said and done, as I've listened to the whole thing, taken it all in, I think your driveway and everything is about as best. You are going to have issues every now and then. I'm not going to say you're going to get out of that. I wouldn't dare even come close to that, but every once in a while you will have that. But it's the same place no matter where I go. I can take you to every city and think, dang, if they would have just done this, but then someone says, yeah, but if they do that, then that's going to affect this, that, and the other. So you know, you can sit and debate all day and with good quality comments. I'm not taking any away from that, but all said and done, the best, if you were to add up, you know, dots on which is the best, I think you'd end up with the most dots right where it is. If you gave 50 people all a dot and said, where would you think it'd go? I think the most dots would lined up right where it's at. That's the 2 cents and $1.
So if the worst case scenario happens and this is just inundated with cars, people change their traffic habits, they go
Then
somewhere
we can all
else.
say
Is that
Drew
right?
liked it, but this way.
That's right. Send them away.
Yeah.
So you're now describing our most popular business district.
What do you mean?
Kohl's and
We've got
Walmart
this,
and all
we've got
that.
this, the
We got the same
functions.
exact issue there.
Just in a small.
Yeah.
It's just our busiest.
I'm just excited to see it. Like, I'm like, all right, it's coming, it's here. And then, yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I like it.
One thing is, as we get our plans in for this and stuff, they have to meet our access management plan. Looking at the basic parameters of what they've got up there and stuff, we will be fitting well within our access management plan. So
am I crazy, or do you guys think of all this stuff before it gets here and we're just spitting it out because we're seeing it?
yeah,
You
we'll
guys
take
think
a look
about
at it. If it's falling within the parameters without, you know, getting down to the 6 inches, stuff like that. Yeah, we look at it. Yeah, it fits within, we go from there. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so we're well within our access management plan with where things are at, but we do have a little bit of room to play with it and just make things a little bit better. So
I think tenants will create a lot of, you know, activity there. So depending on the tenant, depends on how much square footage they can really lease. So, you know, some of that building might not even be leased. It might be vacant just because there's no parking. So.
Well, all right. Are we ready to make a motion?
You betcha.
All right. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Go ahead. Okay. My computer turned off.
While he's making a motion, I do want to say, commissioners, in my opinion, this project, 10 out of 10. I really like what initially it came to, or it was going to be. And then the collaboration with this new venture that the city has, I think a better product came out of it. And I thought that was worth pointing out. So I do appreciate that, council, with what we're attempting to do here in the fields.
So my understanding, this does not go to county or the council.
Right.
So I would move that we approve C-22-13, allowing for a commercial development to be located at the northwest corner of Hayfield Drive and Washington Fields Road, as shown on the exhibit, with the 4 findings and 9 conditions. Add a condition that they will push the entrance as far south as they can to align with the utilities.
Maybe add, but still have adequate access with the triangle piece.
Okay, and how about a number 11 that bears in mind the triangle piece access point? Is that what you want to hear?
Melody, can you make sense of that?
Yeah, we're good.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Shield. Do I have a second?
This is Commissioner Bullock. I'll second.
I've got a first by Commissioner Shield. I've got a second by Commissioner Bullock. Individual voting: Shield.
Aye.
Tupou. Anderson.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Motion passes, and they will be granted their conditional use permit. Dan and Leanne, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. We'll move to item number 6B. This is a public hearing and consideration to approve a conditional use permit for the update to the garden center at Walmart, C-22-14, located at 625 West Telegraph Street. The applicant is BRR Architecture and Kristen Spillman. Turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you, commissioners.
What are you laughing at?
John gave me a good smile on the way up. I'm just happy to be back up here in front of you guys. This does not have the access issues, concerns that were
Nowhere close to
previously
a high school.
discussed.
Yeah.
So should be a little smoother here. The proposed modifications for this application are intended to accommodate the online ordering in-store pickup fulfillment center, which was approved last year through conditional use permit. Currently, the garden center is located at the northeast corner of the store. The existing garden center will be relocated slightly to the west to make room for the online pickup system. The proposed modifications include approximately 4,000 square feet of indoor garden center and will use the existing metal canopy as part of their design. The building addition will be 23 feet 6 inches tall and be finished with the material as seen in the exhibit. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve C-22-14, allowing modifications to be made at Walmart located at 625 West Telegraph, with the findings and condition as outlined below. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
My only question is it's under 5,000 square feet, and it looks like it's just an addition to this building. Why do they have to have a conditional use permit for this? And it's not just,
Because you're altering your already approved conditional use permit.
okay.
That's why, because it's modifying one that's in place, but it's different than what was approved, so they have to come back. It's like an amended, but we don't have such a thing, if that kind of helps your thought
Yep.
process.
That does a
It's an
lot.
amended CUP, so to speak.
But it's on Telegraph Street. That's why it's coming to us, correct? Because it's already in the zoning. It's
Correct.
a use that's available, but since it's on Telegraph Street, that's why it's coming. That's the only reason it's coming to us is because it's
Yes.
on Telegraph Street, correct?
Yep.
Okay, that's.
In this case, that would be it.
It didn't make a lot of sense why.
We don't like to bring them if we don't have to, but
Right.
every time we need to cover
Yeah, no.
cross our Ts and dot our Is, and so that's why. So
Yeah, we bring them because they exist because of your prior approval. And we believe you should be involved with any amendment to that.
I was just curious because it's not they're just doing. I was just curious because
Yeah.
I didn't think they would need to where it's.
If it wasn't a conditional use permit, they, within their straight zoning, they would just go to the planning and zoning office and get permits. But this one exists under a conditional use permit. And so we bring it back to the land use authority that granted that. If I'm not mistaken, you've all seen a presentation on this a few months ago. This is the formality of that essentially.
I'll open this up to the public hearing section. If there's anybody in the chamber that'd like to speak to this item, please come forward. I'll close the public hearing and open it back up to the commissioners for any comments, questions, and if there are none at this time, I'll look for a motion.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I'll make a motion to approve C-22-14, a request for a conditional use permit to modify Walmart Garden Center located at approximately 625 West Telegraph with the 4 findings and 6 conditions as outlaid by staff.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
That was the fastest I've ever seen you move, Tupo. That was awesome. I love it.
I'm like, oh, he's still talking?
I've got a motion by Commissioner Anderson, a second by Commissioner Tupo. Individual voting: Shield.
Aye.
Tupo.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Motion passes. We'll send that. Nope. That is a conditional use permit that has been granted. Item number 6C, this is a public hearing and consideration to approve a conditional use permit for a remodel of Rowley's Red Barn, C-22-15, located 471 West Telegraph Street. The applicant is Rowley's Red Barn, Todd Rowley, engineer, Brandy Walker, civil science. Turn the time over to staff for the report.
So Commissioner Bolt, this is the same kind of a scenario. We're on Telegraph on approval and they're changing it. So and these are 2 good examples of that.
I just said Rowley. Okay.
If you're Northern Utah, I think it's Rowley's, or if there's no, that's it.
What if you're from California?
I'd get it
Rowley.
back, so.
Rowley.
The applicant is requesting approval conditional use permit or expansion remodel of the current zone site and building. The applicant's wishing to remodel the building located at 471 Telegraph. They are currently going to keep the car wash running, but they're going to be remodeling, as you'll see in the exhibits, on that retail area. So that's kind of what this is about, that they're adding that different look and changing those things up. So, and adding square footage there. They wish to leave again and the car wash going, so that east half of the building will remain as is, and remodel the west half into a country barn appearance that matches their business kind of forte if you've been up north. Really neat kind of place. I've been there several times because my wife loves going there. So I do appreciate going in because there is a good theme and feel there. So the remodel will include the repurposing of the west half, and we'll kind of get into those elevations right now. I'll just jump down. You can see it's quite a bit different, adding the faux silo and making that west end look like a barn, like again what their whole business identity is. So the new facelift will add more character to this particular corner and this commercial parcel within the city. Staff's reviewed the project, and the proposed project it meets the intent of the commercial use and regulations in the zoning ordinance. The proposed expansion remodel project is also well designed and has sufficient parking area. They are removing that canopy out front. That helps a ton. It served this purpose when it used to be an old gas station, and even when it was all just a car wash stuff, it served its purpose, but now it's better to remove it. You'll be able to see the building and utilize the parking lot a whole lot better. So with that removal of that and the proposed changes in facelift, staff is well pleased with what the project is and what it will actually draw. I think this will be a great benefit for them and a benefit for the city. Staff would like to therefore recommend that the Planning Commission approve C-22-15, allowing for the expansion and remodel of this particular location of 471 West Telegraph, as you've seen on the exhibits and found in your findings and conditions. Be glad to answer any questions. We'll kind of go down. They did kind of give some. We'll get down to the color one so I can truly say it is a red barn. So that's kind of what their thing is. So this is kind of it. So everything that you see in the red and on that left right there is where all the remodel, everything on the other side pretty much remains like it is that you see it now. And the car wash will stay in operation.
Are they tearing down the whole building and rebuilding a new building?
Is there a rep here? I think
They are not.
I don't think that they are.
So it's not two stories. It's just a fake.
It's 2-story in appearance.
Okay.
Because it's really not a full 2-story. If you look at some of these These others, I don't think, because these windows will just be, it'll just be that high ceiling. I think they're going to take completely the roof off and then go up, but you'll see these cell story windows up here. It's just going to open up the inside.
Are they going to have a canopy or what's that EX canopy on there?
It's the existing
You're gonna
canopy
take
off
it
to the
out.
side. No, that's probably the existing canopy where they'll do the vacuuming and stuff where the car wash already is. They're going to get rid of
The one that's
fuel
out in the
station
parking
ones.
lot. Yeah, the
It's
parking.
the aerial.
They're getting rid of.
The plot plan
Yeah, let
shows
me-
that.
Yeah, I would assume they would keep that one for the vacuum.
Yeah, this will probably just end up being one of those canvas type canopy, just so they can be there as they dry the cars off.
They
et
have it
cetera.
there now.
Yeah, but the other one is out here in this whole area. It's the old gas
Yeah.
station canopy. That's going to be removed and give you a lot more free flow in here in this area. So they will create this, but again, I think it'll be more one of those canvas type ones you see at Fabulous Freddy's and other places that the same kind of look.
At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing portion of this item 6C. If anybody would like to speak to this item, please come forward. I'll close the public hearing at this time and open it back up for commissioners. Any questions, comments? And if not, I'll look for a motion on this item.
So they have a curb cut on 500 West?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yep, they have. Those are all existing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know how relevant this is actually, but Drew, are they gonna, I know they're gonna keep the car wash, but they're gonna, at some point, they're gonna shut it down while they're doing all the construction, or will that remain open? Do we know? Like during construction?
I would imagine they'll keep it open. I don't think construction will get, they'll close off of that west and have everybody just come off of 500. Out here, they'll probably have people diverted that way. I would imagine that's what I would do. I would just say exit only and temporary closure, please go 500 west and come in. But they could shut the car wash down. I don't know. We haven't gotten to that
All right.
stage yet. So
All right, I'll look for a motion. Commissioners?
Commissioner Anderson, I'll make a motion to approve C-22-15, request for conditional use permit for an expansion of commercial development along Telegraph Street located approximately 471 West Telegraph Street with the 4 findings and 9 conditions outlined by staff.
This Shield, I second. We got to move this along, baby.
Also the fastest I've ever seen you move, Doug. That's good. I've got a motion by Commissioner Anderson, a second by Commissioner Shield / Tupo. Individual voting, Commissioner Shield.
Aye.
Tupo.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The conditional use permit passes with approval. Item number 7A, this is consideration to approve a 2-lot minor subdivision, Simister Estates, located approximately 3930 South 170 West. The applicant is Stephen Simister. Engineers Brandy Walker with Civil Science. I'll turn the time over to staff.
Thank you, Commissioners. The applicant is requesting approval of a final plat for the Simister Estates minor subdivision located at approximately 3930 South, 170 West. This particular subdivision is proposing 2 lots on an area covering 4.43 acres. The specific location of this subdivision is zoned RA half. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval of the final plat for the Simister Estates minor subdivision onto the City Council based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions at this time. With there being roadway dedication, it will need to go on to City Council, which is why that is.
I'm sorry, what was that?
With there being roadway dedication, normally with 2 lots, it's a conceptual approval with the Planning Commission. With there being the roadway dedication, we'll need to move on to City Council.
Okay, that's was my question. Why we saw it, because we don't see final plots.
The only question I have, the road that's stubbed from Hawkeye Point, 3830 South Street, that will continue to remain, I guess, always stubbed, right? That will not be an entrance into this?
The back lot 2 could access that to
They
there.
can?
They could.
Would there be improvements required by them to do that, or is that the city?
Probably not.
Okay. Any other questions?
What is this currently? Is it just one big chunk of land right now? You just turn it
Training
into two
started, I
big
think.
lots?
It was the church owned it and they were going to put a church there, but that was back in the old smaller design that they had, say 10 or 12 years ago, but now they've kind of beefed them up a little bit, even for the 3 wards. And this one just doesn't meet the size that they need for the parking in the building now, so they just put it on the market. Mr. Sinister picked it up, so.
Right now, one has a house being framed on it, and 2 doesn't, but 1 does. Pretty big. I think it's
Better not.
23,000 square feet or something. It's massive. Yeah.
Brothers, the 2 brothers.
I'll open this section up. This is a public hearing. I'll open this up at this time. Anybody here in the chamber like to speak to this item? I'll close the public hearing. And I will open the floor back up for any questions, commissioners.
What's that?
Or I'll look for a motion if there are no concerns.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I make a motion to approve the final plat for the Sinister Minor subdivision and move it on to city council based on the 3 findings and 5 conditions.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bullock, a second by Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Shield.
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. Motion passes. That is approved. We don't need to send that to city council. Okay.
Oh, it does go to city council.
It does go to city council?
Yeah.
All right, we'll send that to city council with our approval, our recommendation for approval. Item number 8A, this is a consideration to approve the name change for Bluff View Apartments to Aspire Apartments. The applicant is Logan Johnson. Turn the time over to staff.
This one's pretty cut and dry, pretty simple. Bluffview Apartments is proposing to change their name to Aspire. We just need a formal application and approval through the Planning Commission to make this happen. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thanks, Eldon.
Does this go to city council or do we approve it here?
You will approve it. Yeah, stops here.
Yeah, and then this goes back to that conditional use permit that you have to do because the name was given. We have to go back and unfortunately have to bring it back in a meeting and make a name change because that's how it gets recorded and everything, so.
Is
I
this
don't have
public
any issue.
hearing?
No public hearing.
Approve it.
This is Commissioner Anderson. I'll make a motion to approve the name change for Bluffview Apartments to Aspire, located at 995 East Bluffview Drive and 626 North, 1100 East.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson. I've got a second by Commissioner Bullock. Individual voting, Shield.
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The name change is approved. Commissioners or staff, is there anything else that needs to be brought before this body at this time?
Yeah, we'd like to hold a training on traffic. No, I'm just kidding.
I want to be wrong so bad. 5 years from now, I'm like, yeah, it was no problem, but I just. All right. Look for a motion for adjournment.
Ms. Schill, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Last time I did that, you said no. No, I want to talk some.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I second.
Second it, will you?
I've got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Staff, thank you.
Just so you know, we do chew up a lot of this stuff and we, yeah, David said not recording, but